Hello, everybody. This is Becky here at Beck's Creations, and I thought it would be fun to come on and make a basket with you guys. I'm going to wait until some more folks get in. This is an impromptu, so I don't know how many I'll have or if anybody will show up. If someone hasn't shown up by about 12:05, I'll make some decisions. But until then, I wanted to share again, I can't thank Mary enough because this has been the most amazing gift I've ever gotten. And I've gone a little on the cray side with winding things up. These are all just scrap yarns and they change as you go down through because to get 3 balls all about the same size, I would tie one color to the next color and just keep going. So these are mixed. So you don't know what you're going to get or what your basket's going to look like. It's going to be very much a surprise by the time we're done as to what all is inside here, because the colors you see on the outside do not carry all the way through the cake. So I've got a purple one, a fuzzy blue one, and then this one that's got the yellows and orange and cream and blues, and then this one, and then these two, because they're a little bit more on the smaller size, I will work the bottom with this, and then when we start going up the sides of the basket, I'd switch to this and switch back and forth to make kind of a striped basket. So I might save those for another day, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose this one. You're going to see some tails where I've tied the strings together, but I just kind of work them in. So I'm going to bring you guys closer so you can see my lap because that's where I have to work. In here, I don't really want the outside strands right now. I want to work from the center of this cake. So in the center, you can see when I wound these, I went ahead and kind of matched them up even and put them in my ball winder to make this cake so that the knot was on the outside and it went across and went in the slit, and then I just started winding it. So we're going to work from the middle out, and I'm going to go ahead and snip the knot off, and I'm saving these little knot, like little tassels in my, I have a bag for tiny scraps that my plan is to do a wall hanging of sorts. Now, if you've never done the magic ring before, I'm going to show you how to do the magic ring. I realize other people are on and I may be stepping on toes, but I wanted to do this, and there's always the replay. So if you take your yarn and you hold it between your middle finger and your thumb, go over your index finger, go over your middle finger where you're holding it, come around back up to the upside, and then you take your pinky and hold it like that. All right. Then you're going to take your hook, go through the middle where it goes around the fingers, go through there. You're going to grab these yarns here and do a little twist. So there's a twist on there to hold it in place. Then you can drop a hold to that. And you want to keep that opening there because we're going to work around that. And then you just do a chain one, and that's just like a chain one at the beginning of a row. Now, to start the basket, we're going to have I want you guys to be able to see how the ball works out too. All right. So you're going to go into the opening of this and do a single crochet over the circle. And you got to make sure you get all 3 strands each time. So there's 1 and 2. And what I do is when I've got 2 in there, I go ahead and I put a safety pin in the first actual stitch, just so I know where it is. And I do that and move the safety pin each time. As you're working along, you'll pull a little bit from your cake so you have something to work with. So we've got 2 on there and 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is a size P hook, and this is three skeins of 4-ply yarn that I have balled up together. So that's why I'm using such a big hook. Now that I have my 6 stitches in there, that's normally the 6 stitches you would put in that first stitch if you do the chain method. But with the magic ring, you can take hold to the ends like this. So here's your circle, your magic ring. Here's the 6 beginning stitches. You're going to pull these tails and close the magic circle. All right. So now I'm going to take my pin out so I know where I'm going. I'm going to go in this stitch. And I'm going to keep my tails atop my stitches so that I'm burying them as I go. But I'm going to go in this first stitch. And it is tight, these first few rows. All right. And I do a slip stitch and a chain 1. And then I put 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So in that stitch I've just been working in, I put 2 stitches, because basically what I did is a slip stitch and a chain 1. So I put 1, and then I put, I've lost something somewhere. You see how you can see this loop? I've lost that. So I've got to pull this out. I got to figure out where I lost that loop right there. It gets a little dicey when you're trying to catch these tails at the same time. All right, so now let me do my first single crochet. Sorry about that. And that's exactly how I lost it, because I grabbed it with my finger. All right, so that's 1 and 2. It's a little tight in that first row. But again, before I go past the 2, hi, Kathy. Hi, Joyce. I'm going to go ahead and put a safety pin in my first stitch, because of the method I'm using. Sometimes the first stitch gets lost in my slip stitch, join, and the chain 1 that I put. And let me show you why I do the chain 1. It gives you an interesting effect up the side. That's how I get this effect here that goes up the side. And this is a basket I just finished and posted pictures of. And it's going to be a gift for somebody who's making a really major life change. So, anywho, excuse my knees. Oh, I know. Me too, Joyce. They're so much fun to make, and everybody that gets one loves them. So, so each of the first 6 single crochets we put in the magic ring, you're going to put 2 stitches. So when you get to the end, you should have 12 single crochets. All right, 1. And you can see this is where I've joined yarn. So don't worry about that. I've joined, this is definitely scrap yarns. So I'm just going to work with it. And what I might do is kind of wiggle it so that I can get that knot to the top side and the tails to the top side. And then when we work the next round, I'll hide those tails as I go, and you won't see them when the basket's done. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. It gets easier the farther you get up the basket. Oh, and I did it again. I dropped the stitch. I dropped a thread trying to get that other up. Working with multiple strands is a tricky thing. You'll get used to it, but don't think you're not going to have to maybe pull a stitch out to get all 3 strands back on the hook periodically. I probably should have started a little looser on the base. And because my tails aren't even anymore, and I'm almost all the way back around, I'm going to go ahead and trim these so they're all about the same length. I don't throw these little bits out. I have a bag over here. I'm putting all my little bits in for that wall hanging project that will be a project that comes to my channel eventually. So we got 1, 2, 1, 2. We need 2 here. And I try to, when I'm pulling a loop up on here, I try to get it where it's not in this part of the hook that's like that. I try to get it up here so all of my loops are the same size. Hi, Kristen. It is Kristen, right? Sew Notes. Yeah, if I don't put that stitch marker in there, I am, you know, out in the pasture, I guess you could say. But see, I work that stitch up on there so they're all about the same size. 1. And my thumb is getting sore. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this is where our last joining stitch is. That's that chain 1 that you're seeing there. You don't crochet into that one. So I'm going to take my pin off, take note of where it is, and I'm going to slip stitch into that one. Well, yeah, slip stitch and chain 1. And then again, I'm going to put 2 here, but we are on round 3. Hi, Mina. So when you're on round 3, you want a combination of 3. So what you do is you put 2 in the first one and then 1 in the next single crochet. So the first single crochet from the previous row, you put 2 and then you put 1 by itself in the next one, then 2 and then 1. And that's how I remember how many single crochets and how many 2 crochets to put in each one. It's by the row. So the first row with 6 single crochets, then you put 2 in every single one. Then on the next one, you do 2 and 1. And then on the next row, you do 2 and then 1, 1. So if you think about it as your base being, you're having to grow the base, right, for the bottom of the basket. Each row you add 1 more single crochet, and it's really easy to remember which row you're on by the counting this combination of the 2 together and the singles. So let's do 2 in here. So there's 1, 2, and then in the first one, I'm going to put my pin back in. So I counted 2. So I'm on my 3rd row. So we'll put a single crochet in the next one and we can say 3. Okay. So then we're going to go 1, 2 together. Scott said, buckle my shoe in the background. 1, 2, and then 1 here makes 3. And you do that all the way around. So there's 1, 2, and it'll do this. It'll wind on itself. You can just pull that back out. Just pull it out and straighten it out. So 1, 2, and then we need 1 here. And then 1, 2 in this one. 1 and 2, and then there's 3. It's thundering here and the cats are all Tippy's not afraid of anything, but the others are all under the couch. The other two. And Greg's cats are with him, sleeping. 1 and 2. And that makes 3. 1, 2, and 3. And you get around here and you think this is another stitch right here, but it's not. That's where we're going to gather. And you should, if I think right, you should have 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So yay, I was right. Yes, exactly. This chain looks like a stitch, and you can very easily end up with too many, and then your bowl will go. It won't, when you get to starting your sides, it won't go as smoothly. Yes, this hook is a size P, which is 11.5 millimeters. All right, I'm going to take my pin off, take note of where I'm going, and I'm going to do the slip stitch, chain 1, and then do 2 in this one. 1, 2, and then I stop and I put my pin back in the first one because I can always remember 1 and 2 and go back to 1. All right, so we are on round 4. So now we're going to go 2 and then 1 and 1. So it's 2 plus 1 plus 1 equals 4. So you know you're on your 4th round. Does that make sense, and is it helpful? I know a lot of people have trouble reading patterns, and some people love graphs better than patterns. I hate graphs. I can never figure them out. All right, 2. So the next one you do 2 in it. So there's 2, 1, 2, plus 1 equals 4. And then we do 1, 2 plus 1 plus 1. And I'm getting a little twist, so I'll pull some out, straighten it out. Plus 1. 2 plus 1 plus 1 is 4. And again, we do the same thing all the way around. 1, 2, and then there's 1 plus 1. You don't know, if you have an N hook, it will work as, you can use an N. Any of these, the largest hook you have, Joyce, will make a basket. If use what you have. I always go to use what you have before you go out and buy a bunch of stuff, just because somebody else. The Q is even bigger. I like this size with the 3 strands because it makes a nice basket. So 2 plus 1 plus 1. Gotta look back where I am. 1 and 2 plus 1 plus 1. Oh, and another thing, might do this when you've wound your own yarn. And I just try to find the tail of that color and just straighten it out. I don't get upset with it, but I do like it to be smooth when I go to crochet with it. So I take the time to straighten it out. It's no biggie. So we have 1, 2, and then 1, 2. And another thing, you'll know if you've messed up, if you end up and you don't end with the 2 plus 1 plus 1, and then it's 2 plus 1 plus 1. If you get over here and you still have a whole bunch of stitches, you know you haven't gone far enough, or you've missed some stitches somewhere along the way. I'm going to go one more time around. So this will be our 5th round. So after we do our join, you'll do 2 and then 3 by themselves, which equal 5, right? And this tail, I'm going to draw up a loop so I don't lose this. I want to get that knot where I have yarns joining. I'm going to pull it to the top of the stitches like so I can fold it over and bury it. Now to get back in my loops the correct way, tighten this back down. The reason I draw up a loop is it's real easy to pull stitches out. Oh, thank you. That's a real treat. Okay, so we insert the hook in the first single crochet and slip stitch, which means you just draw the yarn through and then through the loop, and then you do a chain or a very short snake, as my niece used to say. Then you do your 2 single crochets here. 1. After this basket, I'm going to need to take a break from crocheting. This is my 3rd basket since last night. So, and I am so sorry. I messed up on my premiere this morning, and I thought I had subscribers only, and I clicked on something new where you have approved users only, which I thought was weird. All right, so we've got our beginning 2. We're on round 5, so that tells you you've done 2, you need 3 more by themselves. So 1, 2. Yeah, see, my hands are getting sore. I should have done this when I did the 2nd basket. Oh, well. 3. So that's a total of 5 stitches here together. And then you start another group with 2 in this one. And if you remember that when you're putting 2 stitches, the 2 stitches is actually where you're joining and adding a stitch. So every place that we put 2 stitches, we're actually adding a stitch to the round. Okay, 1, and there's 2, and then we do 3 by themselves. So 1. These hooks were some that Joann's had years ago that were in a set of glittery, and they didn't sell, and then they went to close out, and so I bought them and brought them home, and I don't really care for them. I think I understand why they didn't sell, because the neck of this hook is very long, and it's hard to get your loops back here. That's one thing that's making my thumbs sore. So I think before I make another one, I'll find my other P hook, because I have another one. I might just put these out, maybe make a shadow box and put the glitter ones in it as a decoration. I don't know. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 2 here. 1. And I do work I don't work extremely tight, but I'm not real loose at it, because I want a nice sturdy basket when I'm done. 2, 3. And I see how it's kind of loose. So I just find just that color and just pull on it farther down the chain. And I did end up with some shorter lengths. Yeah, usually if you can't see it, you see what I did? I just rubbed some paint or something. I just rubbed it where it looked like there was something, and that's how I did that. so I could actually read it. 2, 1, 2, 3. But these baskets, when you're using multiple skeins of yarn and a large hook, they work up really fast. I'm glad to see people in chat. I messed up my premiere, and Pam was the only one in there. No, Marty was the only one in there. Pam was on when I was spinning. I think I must have done the same thing on that one. So let me look. I can tell there's 2 there, 3, 4, 5. So there's 2 needs to go in this one. If you get lost or you're trying to teach and talk at the same time, it's real easy to find, where you should be. And so 1, 2, and 3. And remember this one right here, you're not going to work in that because that's where you're attaching it to the first one. So I'm looking at this ball of yarn and feeling how big it is. And I don't know if I want to go much bigger. So this is going to end up probably being maybe a pencil caddy or something like that. I'm trying to gauge how much yarn I have there. So I'm going to slip stitch and then chain 1. Now I'm going to begin just working up my sides, which means just going around. So I'll put a single crochet in every single one around. So I'll put 1 single crochet there, and then in the next stitch I'll work 1 single crochet. But before I go any farther, I'm going to go ahead and put my pin back in the one before it so I know where the first one is. Is that Bag a Day Crochet? She does some amazing giveaways. She's got one going right now. You need to go over and see. I can't remember when it ends. And always know what Crystal says. There's some joker stole her picture, and he or she'll go in the comments and contact you and say, "Oh, you won." She never does that, ever. She does her giveaways live. I've never won, but I keep trying. So now we're doing just singles around and around and around, moving our pin as we go. So we always know where that first stitch is. You might not think you need it, but man, it's easy to mess up if you don't do it. Or if you have like a gazillion markers, stitch markers, you can just add them so you have a row of them up the side. Kind of looks like we're having a color change here. Yes, we've had a color change. And it'll roll up on itself, and you might have to take a minute to fiddle with it to get it to quit doing that. Because keep in mind, I hand spun these myself on my new ball winder. And these were just little tiny balls of scraps. And I said, oh, that color kind of goes with that color, and that color kind of goes with that color. And I ended up with, yeah. So this basket will be a surprise. We won't know. Because Becky was half asleep when she was winding balls of yarn last night. So it'll be a surprise. Now, Vicki Brown mentioned to me that they don't recommend you put your yarn into cakes like this until you're ready to use it. I'm not sure why. Does anybody know why that would be? But I knew I was going to be doing baskets anyway to use up this yarn. Oh, see how it does? Just gently pull it out. You don't want to pull. Do it gently. You don't want to stretch your yarn. Everything has to be at a nice even tension. You don't want to stretch it. Right now I'm trying to get the blue thread to calm down. Oh, because it stretches the yarn. Okay. Well, this is getting used right away. Okay, and again, we're not going to work that one. That's the beginning one. Right? No, that's a stitch. See, this is where you can get messed up. I hope I didn't just mess up. It's really kind of hard to tell sometimes. So I'll get slip stitch in here and chain one, and then do your single crochet and then a single crochet, and then stop, take a moment, put the pin in the one just before it so you know where it is when you get back around. I just find safety pins work just as good as stitch markers, and I can manipulate them better with my hands. I'm going to take a minute here and get this untwirled. Try to get it so it's not all twirled up on itself. Let's stick that over my foot, see if that helps keep it under control. Scott and I went to Ollie's and Aldi's yesterday. Ollie's for their heavy-duty trash bags. If you need heavy-duty trash bags, Ollie's has the best price on them. And then we went to Aldi's for eggs because they're back down to like $2 and some change a dozen there. So looks like we're getting past the $6 and $7 a dozen for eggs here. Finally. I hope you guys can see okay. Work that straight again. I'm probably stretching it more, trying to keep it straight. I think I did add a stitch to this. It'll be all right. I'll make it do. It's just remembering where to stop is important. And you can tell when you've lost a loop, you'll end up with this spare loop just kind of hanging out in the air. Let's see, I've got to take a minute and straighten this out again. But you can see it's starting to turn. I'll back you up just a little bit. It's starting to turn up. Let's see if we can get this yarn to behave itself a little bit. I'm being gifted some yarn by one of y'all, and I'll share that when it gets here. She said she shipped it out, so it'll be interesting to see what I get to play with. Even little small leftovers, bits of yarn from bigger projects. I need to put the word out to my family. If you have extra yarn you're not going to do anything with because it's just a tiny little ball, I'll take it and turn it into baskets. I thought yellow and blue went good together. Kind of, it's going to look like the sun and the sky, this one, because it's got some orange in the middle. You can see it kind of peeking out there. But again, this is just leftover bits that I've wound together. This one's really behaving badly because I'm live, that's why. And now Shannon, Art Junkie, she wanted me to share how I wound these together. So now I'm looking at this. Do I go there or do I not? I think I do. And this is the one I avoid. Yes. All right. So now I can take the pin out. This is not going to be a very big basket. It's going to be a bit taller than it is wider. Definitely not a cat basket, which my sister-in-law didn't understand why I was making baskets in all kinds of sizes, because I guess she wouldn't use them like that. I don't know. I said, no, you can put stuff in them. One, and then go into the next one, and that's two. Hi, Barbara. Welcome to this rainy, miserable Sunday day here. Scott and I were talking. There's not going to be any pretty flowers for Easter pictures here. They're all going to be gone. Everything will just be super green. I hold my yarn so much different than most people. Most people do this thing where you kind of weave it on your fingers. I can't do that. I just pick it up and just kind of hold it against my hand here. I can't do the whole weave between my fingers thing because the yarn won't move. It just sticks there. And I'm getting a loop-de-loop of the blue. So I'm going to take a minute to pull it farther down the line here. Because the gray that you're seeing is going to be turning a different blue here in a minute. Because I think this was a variegated blue to gray to white or cream yarn that's in here as well. As I said, this is going to be kind of a surprise basket. You don't know what it's going to look like because I'm using my scraps. Joni. Joni's in the house. You do it all with your right hand and hold work with the left. Oh, okay. I'm a right-handed person, so it's getting kind of wonky as we get farther down the row, but it's okay. Anything that might be a little wonky toward the end and is just a tiny little bit that I'm going to cut off, I'll put in my little scrap bag of yarns. My idea for the tiny little strips of pieces of yarn is to do kind of a slow stitched, I want to do a large tree of life in all of these different little bits of yarn. That's the plan. Oh, y'all are getting together? Pam, that sounds fun. I always think how fun it could be to, like, you know, split the cost of one of those Airbnbs and show up with craft supplies and just hang out for a weekend or something. That would be fun for the regulars that we do things with, you know. See, it's starting to look like a basket. It's turning up. I've just got this rat's nest down here I need to work with a little bit. Using your last little bits, you know, it's like free yarn. You didn't buy it for a specific project. It's just laying around. So, of course, it's going to cause you some extra work to deal with it. But that's okay. That's like paying the cost for the bonus yarn. I want to get to the orange so you guys can see how it just morphs into something else. I did try to stick to yarn that kind of complemented each other. And now I'm off camera. Sorry about that, guys. Oh, a die cutting party. How fun. Okay, I'm going to take my pin out. And I'll slip stitch in the first one. Come on, slip stitch in the first one. Chain one, single crochet back in that same stitch. And then single crochet in the next stitch. And then take a minute, put your pin back in the one right behind it. So you remember where your first stitch was. And straighten out the wonky. Hope this isn't boring. Sounds like they're getting together in person. But maybe not. Maybe you guys are going to do a live. You know what I need to do sometime is do a bunch of rubber stamping of all the little things for cards, all the little quotes and, you know, what am I thinking? I'm thinking of a word that doesn't want to come to me. The endearments, the, what's the word I want? It's going to be alive. Okay, awesome. I just thought it would be fun to do one of these live so you guys can see how magical it is to use your scraps. Just to see how the basket will morph into stuff as it goes along. And I won't be so poo-poo-y about leaving the little pieces, the little balls of yarn at the thrift store anymore. As long as they're not priced crazy, like $2 for a tiny little ball. It's like, you guys are nuts. You should put like a bag of them together for like $2. Not trying to charge me $2 for maybe 100 yards, if that, rolled up 60 feet maybe. So this had yellow, a cream, and then a variegated gray to blue yarn, if I remember right. Sentiments. That's it. Sentiments. When is the live, Joni and Pam? What time were you guys gonna go live? I'll try to hurry. Oh, I'm gonna have to take a minute and pay the piper here and work this out. Come on. I'm not trying to pull really hard. I'm just trying to get the swirly bits to calm down a little bit. Almost back to the beginning. I'm looking at this and I think I've been working in a stitch I'm not supposed to, but you know what? Because I've been doing it, I'm going to keep doing it. And then we'll take this off. and go into that first one with a slip stitch and a chain 1 and a single crochet in that first one and a single crochet in the next one. And put the pin back in the first one like so. 1 p.m. Okay. I don't think I'll be done at 1 p.m., but I will try. Scott's watching a First Amendment auditor in the other room. He's always so very polite. I don't like the ones that start yelling at the police or the faculty at places. You know, that there's a difference between bringing attention to the fact that anybody can film anywhere. I mean, because they are filming us every time we enter a public building. It's a public building. And you can go around and videotape in places like that unless it's not publicly posted that no filming is allowed, like inside courtrooms, things like that. But inside the foyer of a courtroom is a different thing because news people can be there. We're fixing to get a color change. I can feel it coming up the line. All right. Your reading quizzes. And the live is on. Oh, what was you? What was you, Sherry? You're fine. No worries. All right, I want that knot tails to come along with this so that I can catch them in the next one. All right, we're getting a color change and I dropped the gray. So now you just have to work your hook back through the 6 strands that are on the hook so you can pick up that last bit there. All right. So I've got tails here. I'm going to draw this loop up. I want them all the way at the top of this stitch. If I can figure out how to get them there. Draw them up. All right, then I got to get back in this one. Make sure I'm in all of them. Oh, okay. Oh, I see you. I see you. I'll get you when I'm done here, Sherry. It's okay. That was so funny yesterday when Carol went live and then she was telling everybody to send Ann birthday wishes and we could hear Ann's phone in the background going ching, 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 ching. Oh, it was funny. So there's the first one, and I've got a rat's nest again. Hold, please. I think that's one drawback of making your own skeins up. It's got quite the twist in it. All right, so that was the second. I'm going to put this back in the first one. This always reminds me of changing my son's diapers every time I click one of these. Isn't it interesting how it changes, though, as the thread changes coming up through? I was thinking of trying to do one of those. I think they call them cat pods, where it comes up and it has like a little ceiling on it, the pod baskets. I've also seen those pod baskets where they make the pod so it's got a nice base, and then this top comes up, and then there's an opening here. But then at the back at the top, they'll put like a little hanging thing here, and that you can hang them on pegs along a wall. And you could put like your kids' toys that are in the wrong place. You could have a basket for each child and put their toys in it. I just thought that would be the cutest thing to see them all lined up. Yeah, I used some cloth diapers when Greg was little, but we did fall to the using disposables, some. They're just so much more convenient. But then you think about what they're doing to the landfills. Ugh. All right. There's not too much left to this yarn, so I'm glad I stopped when I did on the base. Um, the bigger your ball of yarn that you've created, the larger the basket you can go. If you have just a multiples of cakes that you've made about this size, you can switch between two cakes and make a striped basket. The purple one I just had in my hands a little bit ago is actually one ball that was just slightly smaller than these, and then a smaller one. And I just did it every other row once I got on the side of it. So it's got a rows of some with that shiny yarn I had. I had some of that left, so I added that in. And that's going to be a gift for someone. I got to finish filling it first. So I figured I'd make this basket, and then I'd switch back to dishcloths that, I'm not trying to handle quite as much yarn. But Marty won the basket from the premiere this morning. So I've got to do that up. Get it in the mail sometime. Because that was a surprise giveaway. First one to show up and say something. So, and I'll do that periodically. Okay, and I'm trying to catch the tails from the join as I go along. Going back in the first stitch, keeping those tails from the join along top of the stitch. And we'll do a slip stitch, chain one, single crochet, whoopsie doodles. And then I'll do a single crochet in the next stitch, and that captures those tails from the join, and you can't even tell where the join is now. Take time to put your pin back in the first stitch. There. All right. Yep. I can tell you a funny story about disposable diapers and traveling. All right. So one Christmas when Greg was a baby, I decided, because my grandmother was still alive in New York, I told Scott, I want to go see Grandma for Christmas. So we drove up in our Chrysler that we had back then. And I went to see a high school friend, and I told Scott, go get the diaper bag. And he came in and pulled the wipes out because Greg had a stinky, and the wipes were frozen. They were like a brick. I was so embarrassed. And my friend had to get me a warm washcloth that she had to, deal with. And I was like, oh, I feel so bad. Those baby wipes, they were hard as a rock. It was amazing. All right, I'm going to, I think I've got enough here. I should have started it on the next row. On the basket that I made for Shannon, Art Junkie, she won my comment picker. And if you're not leaving comments under videos, it's a good idea because I do once a month. I tell Scott how many videos I have, how many lives I have and such. And I'll tell him pick a number between 1 and however many. And so then I count all my videos up from videos and lives, and I find that video. And then I put that video's comments in the comment picker, and I pick a comment from a random video that I leave Scott to pick, and then random comment picker picks a winner. And then I put together some kind of package. So I had made a basket and filled it full of fabric scraps and stuff because a lot of us are doing slow stitching. And that was the prize last month. Now this month, it might be something a little bit smaller, but it'll still be a fun little thing to get in the mail. All you got to do is leave comments on my videos. Easy peasy. All right, I'm going to do the join. Let me do the join. I need some taller stitches. So I did the slip stitch. I'm going to chain 2 this time. 1, 2, and I want to do double crochets, okay? Double crochets in every stitch around now. So that was the second double crochet. Now, if you're UK, a double crochet for y'all is a treble crochet. Our treble is way different than y'all's. All right. So I'm going to double crochet around. I might not have enough yarn to do my whole technique, but it'll be all right. We'll get it. And if you do a taller stitch toward the top of your basket, then things won't fall out the bottom of the basket. Sometimes when you do a taller stitch, the openings between the stitches are larger, and you can have an issue with things falling out. Another thing I would say that I have found is if you add a chunky yarn with 2 4-plies, like a size 5 or 6 bulky, with a couple 4-plies or maybe a 4-ply, which is like Red Heart, and then a specialty yarn, you will get a much, much sturdier basket. I'll show you the one I've made that's got the chunky yarn in it. That one I'm keeping because it's just so awesome. I love it. I'm going to need a way to have these baskets. I'm going to need to start dinner soon. And we're going to have a ham slice. And I told Scott any ham I have left over, I would make split pea soup with, since we're having this dreary weather. Greg has to work tonight, and I-77 is closed between our exit and farther up 77. So everybody's being pulled off here by us on the 12th Street extension, and they have to drive through downtown Columbia to get to the other part of 77. So traffic is going to be a nightmare. We told him, even though he's 15 minutes away when 77's open, with so much traffic being diverted, he's going to need to leave 20 or 30 minutes earlier. Plus, out at the fairgrounds where he has to drive past, they're having the, what do they call it? Where the hunters go. It's like a home show for hunters. I can't remember what they call it, but it's going on too. So you can see we're almost done with our yarn, which I'm not going to have time to show you the whole technique because I don't have enough yarn here, and all my other balls are way different. All right, I'm coming up on another color change right at the top. Uh-oh. Okay. I don't know if I've even got enough to do a top row. We'll see. Scott's sneezing. So I won't tell you the technique to use after this on this video. Let's see. You can put handles on it, definitely. I have a basket I added handles on as well. All right. I did not catch these tails very well. I'll have to sew those in, but that's okay. I'm going to try to do a reverse snail's trail to finish this. So I'm going to join this with my first stitch, okay, with a slip stitch. Now, you're going to take this where you're not going to put a stitch in this one here. We're going to go back to the stitch before this one and go in it and do a slip stitch like so, and then go back into this one here and do another slip stitch, and then go back into the next one and do a slip stitch through all of that. This takes some getting used to, going backwards. But what this is called is a snail's trail. You're going slow. So go back to the stitch before the one you just were in and do another slip stitch. Getting it to go through sometimes is the tricky part. And you're always working in the stitch before it. And then go in the next stitch back here. And then go in the previous, and you're just doing slip stitch. You're not doing a single crochet or any of that. Just trying to do this. Do I have 3 on the hook? I do. And we'll go back in, and I'll get a needle and sew those 2 little tails in. And what this does is it gives you a finished edge at the top of your basket. And I've caught somebody else along the way. See if I can just take it off from here because I've caught something. I've caught a stitch below. There. There we go. You can tell if you've messed up. The hook won't move. But see how it looks on the edge when you're going backward? Doesn't it make a nice trim at the top? It is slow going though, because you really have to maneuver the yarn. Carol, if you're listening, safe travels. She's making her big adventure. I keep checking to make sure I still have 3 yarns on my hook. Once I pull through the stitches, I want 3 left on the hook, not anymore. And see, I'm stuck again, so I must have caught something along the way. Let me see. I'm still catching something along the way, so I'm going to take the hook off and just pull until I get that stitch on there. Yep, I did it again. I caught a piece of the stitch below, I think, or messed up. There we go. Let's try this again. One more time. There we go. I guess you can see why this is called a snail's trail. And I'm sorry I have to keep moving the basket, but that's the only way to deal with the yarn is you have to move. Oh, golly. So this might be part of this month's giveaway for the comment picker. So if you'd like a chance, go back and leave some comments. I'm almost back to the beginning. Come on. There we go. Granted, this is a small basket, but if you want a chance to win it and have something I've made, I'll attach a Handmade with Love label to it. There's that. I guess I should get some labels made that say Beck's Creations. And of course, I've caught on something again. I think this is the beginning chain, but I want this trail to finish across like so, and then we will join it here. All right, so I've got a good bit of yarn left there, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to crochet a big long piece and I'll coil it. So let's make a chain. Just keep making a chain. So you got like this. Scott's having a conference with the cats. There's quite a bit left here. I don't know if I want all of this. I could have made a handle to go on it. I'm just doing a chain stitch with some of this remaining yarn. And then what you can do is stop and see what it would look like if you coiled it around. I want it to be a little bit longer than that. Let me get you guys back here. So what we got is this is what's going on now. And I'm just crocheting big old long chain here. Let's see. I like to have the top of the, so it looks like rope. And then I would just coil this. This is a little bit fiddly, but I just want to show you. Yeah, I could probably use all that I have left here and just make a big coiled rosette for the side. And let's do 10 more stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I'll snip it and draw this up. And then the leftover yarn that's on the floor, I can use it to stitch the rosette in place. But you can add other things to your baskets if you want to. You could add twigs and beads and all that kind of stuff. I do have a join in this, but I can hide that behind the rosette. But I do try to get the chainy bit. This is going to be a nice big rosette. And I'll sit here and I'll fiddle with this, maybe while I'm watching Joni and Pam. But you can see I put this on like this. This tail will get tucked, down underneath. I'll trim that a little shorter, and then it's going to get hidden underneath the rosette. But you get the idea. So this will be stitched on here. It's a rosette. And this will be part of the comment giveaway for this month. So be sure to come back and leave a comment. And Marty, you just got here and I'm fixing to sign off. And I hope you guys, enjoyed that. And I hope it's something that you might like to try to make. And I will put the rosette on there. And it's a pretty good size basket. It would hold pencils really nice. So I will talk to y'all later. We need to go over to Joni's channel now. She's live. Her and Pam are doing die cutting. Okay? I'll talk to y'all later. Bye. You're a funny boy.